Gonna go. I think we're go live. Okay, we're heading in. Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. We're 45 minutes early, so we'll see how people file in here, Skeeter. But guys, for anybody that is out there, just want you to know that we're talking about Splinterlands today, but we're also going to get into some other Web3 stuff, and we're gonna have some special guests. In fact, we already have one. Golden Skeeter, you're in the house. What, Skeeter? You've been on like 3 times, I think, before now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Always happy to be on here and talk Splinterlands with my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I always appreciate your angle, and it's like there's like and you shared like a piece of content here this morning with me that I watched about Web3 and Alluvium in particular, and different people have different angles on what's happening around us, and there's no way to keep tabs on everything. So it's really cool to check in with yourself. I think last week Gathering the Magic, Walking Keys is going to join today for a little bit, I think, and even sometimes going on other channels. I don't know about you, but I do my best to stay not just informed on my own, but then to watch other people's content. Like I definitely, this morning I was in live with Aftersound, just listening to, because there's just so many different angles and different perspectives, like open up doorways that I don't even necessarily know about. Do you watch, like, what's your sort of routine for taking in either Splinterlands content or even blockchain based gaming content?
Definitely have to listen to other people. Other people have a lot more insights than I do about everything, because I haven't been around the space for too long. Came in like a couple years ago. Even at the high end and everything's gone down, I'm still really bullish of Splinterlands because I think just owning the cards is so important and revolutionary that other games are going to have to start doing that. If you're just spending so much money down the drain in Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone. But going back to the content, so I try to watch your content every day while in like a car ride or something, or doing some chores. Then I'll check out like often After Sound or Hawks 21, and then Stever, and they all have new content. Sometimes I don't always go and watch all the speculative stuff because I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's been talked about, or I want to, or I kind of know what they're gonna say. But when there's something new to the table or like a new viewpoint, I'm always interested.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't say I watch everything that everybody does, but I actually, Hawks, I was just thinking about him yesterday because I heard he did a bulk buy, and I previously watched more of his content than I have recently, and that's not because it's just because partly it's because my YouTube feed just hasn't been recommending him. I am a sub, I think, and I do enjoy his stuff, but for whatever reason he hasn't popped up, and then I don't go looking for it. But did you participate in any pre-sale buys? I saw a comment from Gathering here saying that the pre-sale went well yesterday and is going well still, man. Like, that's really special. Did you get any packs? Are you going in like a bulk buy with anybody? Like, how are you handling this Rebellion pre-sale?
Yeah, I've been planning on buying 100 packs to support the team, the DAO, and everything. And then I saw, well, Hawks had a pre-sale, and for $10 I get 10 more packs, pretty much. So I'm like, $1 pack, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, same here. I mean, I didn't go in with Hawks. I didn't, I guess, plan or prepare the way I probably should have. I've been quite busy and overwhelmed with some real life responsibilities and even YouTube coverage, as well as I'm playing this game more than I ever have. So I'm like stretched pretty thin lately. So I didn't plan any bulk buy for myself, but there's a TNA member who went pretty hard, who was able to qualify for the 15% bonus. And, he and I are friends, and he partnered with me in the Chaos Legion bulk buy. So I just like threw my DC at him, and he took care of me, got me the extra packs. But I still want more. I only bought 115 through my friend, or 100, and then you get the bonus 15. And then, but I would say I would love, if things go the way I'm hoping, my expectation or hope, I don't know if I want to, which word I want to use there. Because on one hand, it is a hope, and on the other hand, it's an expectation. Let's say I can't use the word plan because it depends on what crypto does. It depends on what altcoins do. It depends on whether the packs sell out. But if everything went the way I want, I would get, between 1,000 and 2,000 rebellion packs before it's done. Not pre-sale, before this rebellion packs are no longer available. Do you have some, these cards seem like they're very different. Do you have any thoughts on maybe how impactful you imagine these will be? And then is that like you said, 100 packs, but I mean, I think you're probably don't you think you're gonna want some of these summoners, and 100 packs isn't gonna do it? How are you handling that?
Oh, definitely. I'm even considering scraping up some change and maybe find some discounts for Christmas shopping already, so I get some of that stuff out of the way. But I want to maybe get like another 135 packs or whatever, so I get that 250 mark for the guaranteed gold foil. For all these promos seem very valuable. Like
Yes.
Hawks or After Sound was doing the math on the scarcity of these cards of like that Mantaroth guy, and he's going to be like half or a fourth of the circulation of Dr. Blight.
Yeah.
Dr. Blight was like selling for $250 a BCX regular foil at one point. So I don't know what this guy could go up to, but right now, even at today's prices, like the Mantaroth guy should be at least $50 a BCX in regular foil, at least in the beginning. And then you throw on those other the rare dude, the no attacked guy,
Yep.
Grim Barden.
Yep, Grim Barden
And
Smith.
I think that guy's going to be at least $2 each, maybe $3 each, because I think he's even more powerful than the other one. Because of the use case and having a neutral tank, and everyone needs a tank for 6 mana over 11.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we had more than 99 mana rule sets, but I'm definitely going to need more of these packs too. Eventually I'll probably buy 5, 6, 7, 800 packs over the lifespan of the game, or while it's in circulation, but I'm also probably going to lean really hard into singles in a few months, because going for the gold foils, and it's hard to get a lot of gold foils from packs.
Yeah. So you even want to go to that next level of getting the gold foils. That's, what I was blown away by as I listened to Matt talk about how many packs you would need, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he said how many packs you would need if you want to get a max.
Oh yeah.
Regular foil, forget about, and he was like, commons you need this many, rares you need that, and he was like, gold foils you need like 10,000 packs or something crazy. And
it was even more than that.
Yeah. Right. I think it was. Do you remember how many? What did he say? How many was it? Do you remember?
If you want a full collection of regular foil, it'd be maybe 3,000 packs or something, 3,500. And then if you want gold foil commons, that's 4,000 to 5,000 packs. And if you want gold foil rares, it's another 6 or something. And then epics was 8,000. And then if you want a full set of gold foil legendaries, it was 10,000 packs or more. Yeah,
that's wild, hey? Just absolutely wild.
And yeah, I'm not gonna be able to buy 10,000 packs, so I'm gonna have to get some singles.
That's right. And the thing, but there's a tension here I want to touch on with you, Skeeter. I'm gonna quickly ask a question, but then I do want to touch in the chat. So let me ask a question, and then I'll check chat, give you some time to think. Okay, so we're talking about how many packs you need to get these max level sets, and you expressed an interest in getting the gold foils, and I want those too. But even for the perspective of the rarity and the scarcity, because Mantaroth, as you pointed out with Dr. Blight, and this one's even more rare, and that one, Dr. Blight, was so expensive, especially at launch. So there's this, I think there's a tension between how expensive these cards are going to be individually. And granted, when you buy 100 packs, you're by no means guaranteed that you're going to get some of these gold foil legendaries or whatever. But I'm saying you almost certainly don't buy those. I'm starting to feel like maybe we won't be able to afford some of those cards if you aren't lucky enough to even get them in the pack. Do you know what I mean? There's a tension there because, if you buy 100 packs, you're just not going to get all the cards you want. And if you buy singles, you're going to pay a premium for every individual card, especially some of the cards, maybe like Mantaroth, as you pointed out. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, let me just say hello to some people in the chat. Clevin S, Farp, just here to hang out. Nice. And I wanted to tell you guys that I'm hanging out with Golden Skeeter. I think Gathering might pop on for a bit, and also Walking Keys later on. So a couple special guests today, just in and out, informal chat. I wanted to go live, had time this morning after one of my meetings canceled early. Ike, good to see you. Paul, thanks for popping by. Mitch, appreciate you. Jamie, good to see you, bud. What's Jamie saying here? I think I'm going to buy 500 packs. I have the DEC and vouchers queued up. Just deliberating a bit before pulling the trigger. Rationale, 1 year from now, I will have bought 500 packs anyway. So why not simply do it and get the promos? I fully agree with this sentiment. For me, the impediment is not the desire, or even some people might be like nervous about. I've heard people, some big names, and I think Aftersound, I think Tails, I think, some other people that really cover this have expressed no way, I'm not buying this right now, because, and I've heard Aftersound kind of flip flop. Maybe he might be changing his mind on that. But, you hear people say like, I don't know, like, let's see how this goes. None of that is for me. Like, I'm so convinced this is amazing, game changing. I need it. But the question is not, it's about resources, and I don't have them. So I got to figure that out. Gathering says, things will be slow now until the last couple of days. I think people can look at the leaderboards and see what they need to buy and snipe a title. Yeah, it's interesting that they like reintroduced the ability to snipe titles, because remember they made it so like the front end purchases were more important last time with I forget what that was, but I thought that was going to be a reoccurring thing. Maybe they like the tension of that finish line push. It's kind of fun. I do like the idea of right at the end, somebody could come in with 20,000 packs or 15, and there could be fireworks at the end of the 30-day window. And so that'll be fun. Butters, good to see you. And Richard, I see you out there too. There's some more comments, but Skeeter, what do you think about that? Because the cards essentially, like I know you say you want singles, you don't want to buy them 10,000 packs, you can't, but you also have this, you're saying you want to have, you feel you need to have some of these cards. How are you going to navigate that? Because they're going to be way more expensive, aren't they? And is it worth it then to try and find the money to go into the packs, to try and lottery ticket almost your way into some of these big ones that could maybe be sold, and then allow you to unlock some of the, the singles that you want? What do you, where you're at on that conversation?
Yeah, so just with all these promos, buying like 100 packs we're probably gonna get like at least $80 in promos back. So it's like a 20% discount, and if you got DEC earlier, it's another 20% discount. But I've realized that I said I was going to get gold foil Dr. Blight, but then the market went totally dry, and then the price doubled. So now I'm like, maybe I'll just get a regular foil Dr. Blight, like level 3 probably, maybe level 4, and then just rent the gold foil just for the phrase. And if I just rent them for the phrase, that's like $25 in a year, compared to spending like $800 for a gold foil blight. So I think I'll just be happy with a regular foil blight. And then like with this Mantaroth guy, probably not going to get him in gold foil. I'll probably just try to get him regular foil to level 3 or something, then rent him for the brawls in gold foil when he's needed.
I'm astounded.
But I kind of have to shift the expectations a little bit.
Yeah. You gotta measure, you gotta find that balance between hope and expectation, and then on the other side, realistic, like the opportunities and the cost. Because it's not just an opportunity in terms of how often you'll be able to win when you get these amazing cards, but there's the other side of the opportunity. You get tied down by putting your financial resources, which are limited, into this asset, whether it's Dr. Blight or Mantaroth or Rebellion. Those are opportunity costs that are going to limit other things, like maybe preparation for land, etc. And so you really, nobody has infinite resources, and I'm feeling right now more than ever, and this is partly because of the bear market, but I'm feeling right now more than ever the reality of the fact that there is no way to have everything in this. And up until a year ago, maybe 18 months or 2 years ago with Splinterlands, I kind of thought an active person who was interested and had some outside resources would be able to kind of keep up. But I think more and more and more, that's just not the case. And so, land is going to be its own game. Eventually Soul Keep's going to be out, and there's going to be a growth of different opportunities. but there's also a growth of opportunities and angles within this game, just Splinterlands. And I just don't think anymore that you can, without like $10,000 a year new cards, just stay on top of this. And I don't, there will be some that'll do that, but for me, I'm gonna always be the kind of frugal guy who I'm gonna sell my kitty like I did, and I'm gonna reallocate the resources. I'm gonna sell, my Lux Vega and reallocate those resources. I'm gonna choose between 500,000 DEC goes into Rebellion right now, which I did, or 500,000 DEC gets set aside for land. And right now I have literally 40,000 DEC. I need to find more. I'm gonna sell something. I don't know what, but I'm always kind of scratching and clawing to adequately, within my limits, cover what I need to do. And I just can't have it all. I think that's true for all of us. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to reallocate resources and like sell untamed cards when they're about to rotate out. I think I kind of missed the boat on that, so I'm just gonna hold on to my like dozen or so untamed cards. And maybe next time when there's a new cycling, before the big announcement of when things are going to rotate out, I'm gonna try to sell them like 3 to 6 months before that. Maybe just a couple months before that, even like pretty much 6 months before rotation. And I think I could better recycle the value that way. But I don't really want to sell Vigilator max level for like $50 now. And I pay like $550 for it. So I'm just gonna keep it. It's one of my favorite cards. Building up that wild team still to have that super double strike melee buff with like the brownie inspire and just go full inspires and just max out that way. Like I think it's still gonna be fun to have some wild cards. I don't know. I see the value in keeping the old cards from like Magic the Gathering, where like as Gathering to Magic said, talking about Revised, I didn't really play back then. But he said it was way overprinted. Everyone said it was trash. There's so many freaking cards. It's like worthless. And I'm like, no, it's actually going to be really valuable, especially when they're not going to reprint cards like that. They're like, it's called on the reserved list and they're not going to be reprinted. And those cards like have held the value the most. And I can see a lot of these assets doing the same thing where just they get so old and so rare that people are going to want them for wild. And when we can get to a place that, it might be more competitive in a wild format, or we take the modern cards out of wild or something. I heard someone suggest that. So I'm not really trying to sell my old cards. I'm trying to build a really big collection and then put those on land until I'm ready to sell them or rent them out or whatever.
And there's, as you kind of touched on, there's almost very little point in selling at this moment. And not saying it couldn't go lower, untamed cards, alpha, betas, some of those cards have gone down. I touched on this in a video, I want to say yesterday or the day before, where I was talking about, among other things, I talked about how card prices have really, it was this morning's video actually, and it was an FAQ, and there was one person talking about how card prices are dropping radically, and it was a bit scary. And then I pulled out some data that I've been tracking since May, so 6 months, 5-6 months, and my cards were worth double what they were. They're double then than they are what they are now. And I've broken it down, alpha, beta, promo, reward, all of them, every edition separately, so I can track and see which ones have been more compromised or damaged by the fall. And absolutely, like alphas are down 70% in that time. Betas, I think it was 60%. Rewards were down 50%, 50. And Rift Watchers and I actually don't remember what dice, but Rift Watchers was the one that was the most preserved. But like, if you look at 70% losses on cards like alphas, and you think to yourself, well, it's out. I want to focus on modern right now, or I want to focus on Rebellion. I just can't imagine convincing myself to liquidate those assets at 7/10 their value. And I absolutely believe that in this moment, there's a bit of FOMO for something like Rebellion, where people are liquidating things at prices that they wouldn't regularly. And that is translating to paper losses for each of us in our card collections. And therefore, I just wouldn't, it just, to me, whether I'm talking about alphas right now, but I mean, this logic applies to Reward or to Chaos Legion. I just can't imagine selling them to try and move into, even though Untamed is moving out of it, like you say, you're going to sell a Vigilator for $50. Like that card's amazing. And it just, you probably sell it and you never get it back. And you can, there will be times where you'll enter a tournament and that's going to be really helpful. Or there'll be a time where you'll participate in a certain guild brawl and that'll be helpful. Maybe one day, you know, in 4 years time, even Rebellion is in the wild and suddenly you've got a really diverse wild deck. And now you're such an OG that like in that maybe that league makes more sense. And so for what they've become in the last 6 months with some of these cards, pricing is dropping. I just can't see liquidating at this point. But yeah, I get it. I also get people doing it because they see Rebellion is going to be game changing. So it's a tightrope walk.
Oh, totally. You know, I was thinking about to help create all this value for all these cards that are about to rotate out, because a lot of people don't want to play in Wild with all the bots. Is what if we just make another format for Wild that's just players only? Yeah. And then now you get to enjoy all those cards, but not have to face against all the bots, and the reward should be higher because there's not all the bots spamming games and stuff. So I think that could be interesting. You know, there's a lot on the plate right now, but like eventually in 2024, I feel like that could happen.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that would be enjoyable. I think people would appreciate that. I think that would need thinking through in terms of how SPS is awarded in those contexts, because then there'd be a new league, and we wouldn't want to see like more SPS being printed for that. It would have to be like maybe subdivided across the 3 leagues. Then you might get into a conversation. You might say like, oh, let's make Wild just bot free also. That was good for Modern. That would be interesting, because I think we might see those bot people have moved out of Modern willingly in some sense because of what we did, but I suspect there would be a degree of non-compliance and innovation. It would be, I think if we try to kick them out of every league, I suspect there'd almost be like a cold war between developers.
Yeah, that's not going to work. I was, you know, talking about that SPS split. Maybe like 75% of the SPS from battles could go to like the real players, and then the Wild bots can get, you know, instead of a third, they get like 25%.
Yep. Look at these sales. These are Rebellion Pack sales. YGG pulled out 12,000. They're so far off ahead, but I feel confident they're going to be like, I don't think this is going to hold for number 1. Maybe I'm wrong. It's only, this is just for pre-sale, right? The legendaries will be decided based on pre-sale, correct? Whoever.
Correct.
Yeah. So I would be really surprised if some of these names don't come again with a second round, and even some names that aren't even here push in late and get 20,000 packs. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think people in the top 20 could just start orchestrating bulk buys, and maybe some of the people in the top 20 or top 50 even, you get like 10 of those people to combine, and then they're like, oh, you know, we're gonna fish our way up there. If we get 10 of the people that bought 3,000 packs or whatever.
Yeah.
And they could definitely take the top spot if enough people are able to combine to take down the number 1s.
This feels like a missed opportunity. YGG. At 2,500 each. I mean, together they're on the top 6. They're making legendary, but also YGG SPL pool. Like I don't understand the interconnected nature so much of YGG. So maybe there's a distinction there. But man, and even with me, like in TNA, like here on number 30 here is Darkstar, and that's my buddy. That's who I went in with, and I'm sure that, you know, if we had just even taken 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks, and maybe a month, and just said like, let's get some DDC together, it feels like it would have been attainable to at least threaten this area. I don't know if we would have, and how cool would it be to be able to partner in the creation of a summoner? That would be awesome. Let me check in with the chat, see what's up. If all sell, like all the Rebellion pre-sale, if all sell less than 500 max copies of each, If only 300 sell, less than 300 each. Is that the legendary he's referring to with the promo legendary? I think it is. 500
Yeah,
max
the next line
copies. That's
says
okay.
legendary.
Only 50 max gold foil legendaries if all sell. 50 max. Isn't that crazy? Like 50 players could have a max gold foil legendary of that promo card if all sell. That's wild. Yeah, that's gonna be a scarce card.
And
That's really cool.
and it looks like there's like 50 people who bought 2,500 packs, which means they wanted one BCX of that gold foil legendary, which means there's at least 50 people probably trying to max that out.
Wow, that's a good call.
And
That's
then
Go ahead.
and then smaller guys like me buying 100 packs trying to max it out too. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to look and compete.
Wow, that's a really interesting insight. And the way you gave numbers to it earlier too, Skeeter, with the you were speculating, you know, even if you said $80 worth of promo reward cards, and you're doing that because you're saying, what are you attributing $50 toward the legendary 1 BCX at 100 packs? You're getting one of those, and you're getting 10 of the little guys, and you're thinking that there's probably
Yeah.
a $30 value on $3 value on the rare and a $50 value on the legendary.
Yeah, something like that. It's just kind of a rough guess, but it's at
Sure.
least like $60 to $70 in promo cards and value, like at least the first couple weeks at least.
Gathering also asked the
I
question,
feel like
Oh, go ahead.
I feel like they made this pre-sale pretty juicy, with the extra promo card for the rares to really help give the smaller people more incentive to
Mm-hmm.
just buy 10 or 20 packs instead of like, oh, you have to spend a lot and get 100 packs or 250 packs or whatever. It's
Yeah.
nice that they have the smaller increments.
Gathering says, do promos get a land on a bonus on land? And I think all promos do. I think I don't know what the number is, but promos get a slightly bigger bonus in rank reward payouts. So I imagine they also get a bigger reward in land performance. Butter says,
I think so too.
Go ahead.
I forget the percentages, but
Yeah.
I believe the promo got ones. It was either higher than the lower in some of them. I thought it was a little off, but they still had a bonus.
Butter says, I have more resources now than before, but I have not done my due diligence. And if I want to make this investment, trying to understand the economy after stepping back a bit over the last 4 months. Yeah, man. I would point you to, I mean, there's a lot of angles you could look at, but you know, Aftersound was covering yesterday on his channel, talking about how much DEC has come out of liquidity pools that are paired outside of Hive. We're talking like DEC to ETH, etc. So these are like not even in-game resources anymore, and like I mean millions and millions of DEC have found their way back into the game to chase after this, and we're talking like $800,000 in some of these LPs, coming down to 200,000, 600 grand in a couple different examples. So a lot of big money is excited about this. The pre-sale did really well in the first 8 hours yesterday. It sold 250,000, and it's pretty much stayed stagnant since then. So you could take that with a grain of salt. But Matt himself was saying that 250,000 is like indicative of a success. Nice, Guto. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you. So I mean, just a couple metrics, like 250,000 of the 500,000 pre-sale packs that are even available sold in 8 hours. And then, yes, it slowed down, but Yaba Matt felt that 250 across 30 days was a victory. I don't know that we sell out, but I do think we push to probably 300, maybe even 400. I wouldn't be surprised if we sold out the pre-sale, but I think it's going to be a photo finish if we do. I bet we see some big people trying to snipe these top 6. This is the carrot that's in front of people right now, and it doesn't serve them to come hard like today on day 2, unless they think this is going to just sell out. But I would bet there's going to be someone in here that, like, I bet number 1 through 6 you need to have, like, I bet YGG might win one of the summoners if they, 15,000 is what I'm thinking is probably going to be the top 6 summoners. You need 15 to 20,000 packs, I bet, to be in this window. I could be wrong about that, but if I'm right about that, you're adding another 100,000 packs right there probably to this number, and I bet that all happens like right at the end. And there could even be somebody new just comes in sneaking from like down in here to just push secretly. But I think, that's one of the angles to look at if you're not sure. Um, um, but yeah, like we talked about in the beginning, you don't need to buy these packs. You can just go ahead and pick up the cards you want if you want, because man, they're going to be game changing. These, you guys know this, but if there's new abilities, there's new dual element summoners, which is so crazy. Let's talk about that for a minute, Skeeter. Dual element summoners is going to create some partnerships that are so different than the way we play the game right now. Hey.
Oh yeah, totally. Those seem really cool. Really interested in those, especially, to give one of your guys shield. It's just such a cool mechanic, the one they showed out. It's like you want to give one character shield. It's like, well, that is to counter the sneak meta right now, because everyone's gonna hit you in the back with physical, and now you can give them a shield to take half physical damage. Could be like totally game breaking against like Michelia meta
Yeah.
right now, and like even like Deep Worker and stuff like that too. It's like, oh. You have like the Wave Brood, which has Void Taunt for blue, and he only has the Void for the magic damage reduction, and then you can give him the physical damage reduction. You're like, oh, he went with a sneak heavy team or archer heavy, so now I'm gonna give my Wave Brood the shield and the Void, and that sounds like so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's like you're talking about the what do they call that? They call them what? There's a word for this.
Like a pre. I call it like a pre-game action. That's what they kind of call it in Magic.
Yeah, yeah. Pre-game action is super like on point, but they do have a tactics. Summoner tactics is what they're calling it. And so you look at the board and you can if your summoner is one of these summoners that has the tactics ability, you can implement shield. You can implement a nerf to their archery. They even talked about in the pre-sale launch party, which they held on the YouTube Splinterlands channel, they talked about how it's conceivable these abilities might be like to apply items and spells might get to a place where you can apply poison to a certain monster, even on your own team. And so that you can, for imagine you want your martyr to die. Well, you could just drop a poison on him like before the game starts. It sounds, it might be counterintuitive. You're like, why would I do that? But of course the martyr is that important, and it can be, you just make sure it happens.
Or you give someone enrage. You proc it enrage off at the beginning, and then you get like a super trample rule set with the demon shark or whatever.
That's right.
And you can just get your enrage going like turn one, and that sounds pretty powerful too.
Totally. Yeah. So the amount of creativity that's going to come out of this new summoner mechanic is absolutely game changing, which means that this deck is game changing. But more than that, because that's not exactly the same topic. There's the tactics that we were talking about there, but there's also like dual element is like a totally different side of that, because it's like if you can bring in water monsters with death monsters under the same team, that is such a different way of playing the game. And that's part of it, right? That dual element summoners give you access to twice the cards when creating a team. Prepare for mind bending strategies as you blend two different elements together. There are ways that could break the game. So I don't know how well they planned it. They did talk about I forget who it was, but it's not really Matt in charge of that anymore. And it sounds like they went through a real thorough sort of planning process on this, but this is huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, just take the blue and death example as you talked about. You bring in the Protect with the Zanari Wavesmith, and now you can bring Radari Guardian. And now Death can have a healer and a repair, and you can put a taunt up, or 3 taunts up, or whatever, and you can just protect your 1 DPS to go off.
Yeah, look at this. With those 2 splinters, these are the taunts available to you. You got Wave Brood in the back, you put Dark Juan or Kraken up front. Night Ghoul, if you want to just play modern, like even these 2 were there for longer than these 2 will be. And then let's see, with the death you don't have a lot of tank heal, but with the water you do. So look at this, like, just there's some amazing tanks on the death team, but they really lack the tank heal side. Well, I guess Crustacean King is super old, but you got Merdali Guardian, like you say, Albatross for at least the next little bit. Actually, this is rolling out as soon as Rebellion gets in, is it not?
But Yeah, you get the color Oracle too that you can play 3 taunts and
Yeah.
then like double triage and
Wow.
Murdawi Guardian and just see how that goes.
Yeah, triage is another good call because again, death doesn't really have much of it. They just have the Theorosa, and then there's resurrect, and I know that death has one resurrect with the ancient light. I guess they got the astral entity too, but now two resurrects. I mean, this is so different.
Oh
This is
yeah, with
absolutely
Baron
going to change it.
Rivendell. Yeah, Baron Rivendell, you can get more resurrects out. You can get like a triple resurrect with that Legionnaire Alvart, and then they have to go through like 30 void armor.
That's wild. 30 void armor. So this is all to say that I really believe this is absolutely game changing. And one of the things we've been calling for a long time is more like new player experience and improvement to new player experience. I would argue that creating a new set that radically changes the game mechanic, creates a lot of new thoughtfulness and I guess room for in like a whole. This is like a whole new level. It's like this sort of expansion isn't just, hey, there's some new cards that's interesting. It's also a totally revised gaming experience, from the summoner tactics to the multi-color summoners, even to the new abilities and all of the new synergies that are going to come out of that. To me, that is like an offering to a new player experience. Like it's an improvement in the game itself. I never really hear people say that, but that's how I feel about it, at least.
Oh yeah, no, a new expansion freshens everything up so much. And
Mhm.
I've had to take multiple breaks from the game to keep the game fresh and enjoyable for me. They want me to keep playing. So I've taken multiple breaks that are like 1 to 3 months long. So I would recommend if people are getting burned out Chaos Legion, just take like at least a couple of weeks off and wait for this new set to come out.
Untamed pack. I see a comment from Gathering. He says right now is a fantastic once in a lifetime opportunity for picking up Untamed packs. Kitty, Yodin, Lamacron, etc. for under $8. Is that right? I haven't seen the. See here. $12 on Hive Engine. Let's see over here. But even $12, like they used to be $20. Untamed, Untamed, $15 on the non-card market. But still, like yeah, they used to be $20, $25.
I remember seeing them $35 a pack, like $50 a pack, and I was like, yeah, that's too much for me. I'll buy a few singles.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I should buy a couple Untamed packs and just hold on to them for a while.
One thing that I'm pretty we touched on this a little bit already, so I won't beat a dead horse, but just as we talked about the prices declines, and as we even talked about how some of these it makes sense to have some of these cards that you think, oh, I'm not going to want them once they're out of modern. I don't think that's really long-term true. If you're here for, like, you picture yourself playing this game in 5 years, I think there's going to come a time where you're going to say the game has changed so much. You're going to be grateful for having cards like this. And the price points are starting to come into, like, I sold my kitty for $3,300, I think. And look, a max level kitty, $1,350. I'm listening. Like, I don't have that money right now, but I'm very interested. And I don't know that these prices stay the same. I don't think, like, you could justify these price declines in two ways, I think. One, you might say people are out of money and they're leaving the game and they're fearful. Like it's like a fear mindset, bear market fear mindset. I think it's more likely that the sale of these assets is to some extent just a reallocation of resources within the game. Yeah, people are saying to themselves, like, I use them in modern and I can't, and that's part of the conversation. But I think more to the point is, like, right now land is about to launch. Right now Rebellion is here. If I could sell my kitty for $1,500 or my Yodin for, wow, $700, like that is so much lower than it was. It's crazy that they just want a little bit of DC to move into land or whatever. And I'm just saying, again, I play in modern. These will not be functional for me in modern, but there are times where I feel a gold foil fray, or I feel I feel an untamed fray, or I play in a tournament. I think people are gonna be glad in a few years' time, I think. And I'm super interested, but I want my rebellions before I go into something like this.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are reallocating right now. I mean, yeah, there's some that left, but I feel like the people that wanted to leave left a while ago already,
Mm-hmm.
after hearing like the cutbacks and everything. But going to your point about how you sold at near one of the high ends for the kitty, it's like, the emotional attachment you had to kitty. It's like, I don't want to give up that card, but that's what you got to do when you want to, get that 3x, is you have to give up the emotional attachment to cards. Like, I didn't want to sell my Vigilator for 250, even though I could have. Like, I love that card.
Mm-hmm.
But you sold before the announcement of everything's about to rotate out. So that's what I'm going to try to do with the next rotation, is try to sell while there's still a lot of hype around like the current sets and like old OP cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Gregory, good to see you, buddy. Stock Jockey, thanks for popping by. I have a gold Waka, and there's only 34 of those. Waka is one of those cards who is like the perennial, or like the ongoing butt of every joke. And that partnership was not great. That was a dud in a lot of ways. Forget about the partnership though. What I actually like that card. Having poison, especially as with those, even when you were describing, Peter, the summoner tactics, and you're saying being able to drop a shield on all of your monsters after you see they're doing a sneak melee play. I totally agree that shield is so pivotal. And I thought to myself, if you just had poison, and I thought while you were speaking, like Waka would be part of that. I think Waka is better than people. I think it's more functional than people give it credit for. And yeah, it just, in this season, with all of these crazy cards and with Rebellion with Land and Untamed being more affordable than ever, etc., I don't think anyone's going to go chasing after it, but I would love to have one. Do you have a Waka?
No, I thought about getting him because I'm a big fan of the artist Waka Flocka Flame going hard in the mother effing paint. But I've been losing to Waka lately in like low mana matches under 24 mana, and he's just like, wow, really? I'm playing like typical Kelia team, and like I should win because I win most of these. But it's like, oh no, the poison got me, and he didn't just get lucky. He just, all his guys have poison, so my guys are just gonna die.
That's right. Yeah,
All
man.
my little meat shields in the back.
That's right. If they land their shots, 50-50 chance of dropping poison is so powerful. If the battle lasts 3-4 rounds, you're going to get, and if you do different points of attack, like frontal assault, sneak, opportunity, snipe, if you do two or three of those attack types, you might drop 2 or 3 poisons in the first round. And if the game lasts 3 rounds, you might do, 18 poison damage from just adding the Waka. And even if they're big meat shields, man, that's gonna turn the tides.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like how Blight kills Oceanus, even though he does no damage to him with the silence, but the poison when it lands will just kill your tank.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And I think Waka Flocka could have been like almost dual Splinter in hindsight now, and made his mana cost a little higher. Like that could have been a better workaround.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Gathering, I picked up 100 packs. Would love to get a title, maybe save funds and snipe at the end. I'm seriously considering liquidating some external assets, the crypto assets, but I would be taking, like, I've saved these things for years and years, and they are higher than, like, I'm well in the green on these holdings. Like, they're doing well for me, but they're nowhere near where I thought I would sell them. And so it feels like I've waited so long. I've been so patient, and I think there's opportunity still. And it's, to me, I'm not sure which one's going to go. I have confidence in both option A, like hold my crypto, or option B, sell the crypto to buy Splinterlands assets. But I don't know which one's going to go first. And that's holding me back. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I might do some sniping myself there, Gathering.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're talking about. How I've been like, oh, I'll invest in some other main coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then I just keep dipping in to use it for Splinterlands. So I think I need to put them in a different wallet that I don't see it, and just let it sit there.
I see some more comments here. Let's see. Oh, there it is. My 115 Rebellion packs popping through. Dark Star sent them over. I cannot wait to open these. I'm definitely opening every last one of them. I'm not This is too small a number for me to just sit on these and like wait and see. I'm going to open them and I'm hoping I can do some flipping. I'm hoping there'll be some, some crazy gold foil or something and I can go ahead and
Oh
trade some of them
yeah,
off.
yeah. Anything you open day one, day first week that's valuable, you should probably just sell immediately and they could buy back later. Because
Hmm.
prices tend to be really high for 3 to 6 weeks after a launch.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to think about it from a supply demand. If there are, as you point out, there's so few of those Mantaroths and the other one, the Grimbardens. There's so few of them, even when it's like if you're the first person paying attention to it and you're one of the first people to list, there isn't even established price points yet. You can say you've suggested maybe 50 would be a number. You could throw out 100 and maybe somebody bites. You could throw out 200, maybe somebody bites. It all changes so radically, and if you're paying attention, like there will be fireworks in the first minutes and even hours, I would think.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
Go ahead.
But this is kind of my general investment strategy in Splinterlands is I'm committed to this game to the end. Either whether what happens or whatever, I'm not going to liquidate at the end for a 90% loss or whatever. I feel like the upside is just like way more important than that. And after someone who's just put so much money into other Web 2 games, it's just like a black money pit that I can't do anymore.
Check this out. Richard had an idea I've never heard anybody say before. First of all, Brandon, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for Brandon said previous summoner naming rights winners bought between 15 and 20,000 packs. I expect the same here, and me too. Richard said, "What if they rotated an old set into modern at the same time as a new set comes out of modern? So, i.e., alpha could rotate back into modern, and this encourages people to keep old sets as well." I would almost call that like I wouldn't, I'd move away from. I almost would like that, but I would almost say that's something else. Like again, like Skeeter was saying at the beginning of the conversation, what if we did a third league? I could imagine something like this being totally an innovative way to kind of stretch people and
Mm-hmm.
invite people to try different things and to go deeper in other angles. And getting creative with that stuff is going to be part of the future of how we expand this gaming experience. Trying new tournament styles, trying, new rank reward experiences, etc.
Yeah, and so I was thinking off that maybe they just have alpha rotate in for 3 months, and then beta rotates in for 3 months, and then Untamed comes in for 3 months, and then all these other sets where Dice comes in for 3 months, and then the meta shakes up all the time. Then
Mm-hmm.
people want to buy cards and get rentals and stuff that pushes the rental market. I think that could be fun too.
Yep. Yeah, Brandon, thank you. Brandon says Lux Vega is 650. Is that 350 below your sale price? This is true. Thank you, my friend. And he goes, your joy, peace of mind of Lux sale definitely greater than minus 350, right? Yeah, it's with that. What that comment makes me think about. Well, first of all, he's right. Like I sold my Lux for around 1,000, I think, and and uh, and man, it just brings me back to Splinterfest, and promo cards in general, because I definitely think there is so much. They're so impactful. They're so desirable because they're made that way to be attractive, and the same is true for these ones, for these new. I don't have them up anymore, but the Mantaroth and the Grimbarden, like they've made these juicy. Like these are great cards. I'm super interested to see. I heard somebody, I forget who it was, being critical to Mantaroth, like the speed's slow. I mean, reverse speed said it happens quite regularly, first of all. Second of all, you can manipulate speed. Third of all, this thing like throws back. We haven't heard how the armor punch or whatever will work, but I don't have any reason to believe it's going to be speed based. I was kind of assuming it would just be like damage output, like it's going to be whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe its speed is going to contribute to how that hits or doesn't
I
hit.
think it'll be the speed, but he's gonna have 2 attacks, so I think that could still be really powerful. And we have not seen the new summoners yet. There could be someone that gives True Strike, which
Yep.
could really bump up the Mantaroth.
Yeah. Mantaroth's got the true strike straight out the gate too, but or not. I don't know what straight
Oh,
out the
right.
gate, but it's got the true. But hang on a second. I think they said we can look at these cards on the. Can we go in here and mark? No, I guess we wouldn't see them in the market. Yeah, I think we can. Let's see. So this would be. Oh, they're not there yet. There would be a rebellion set. They mentioned In the pre-sale launch party, Matt said it's visible on the, I think maybe all he meant is just you can see the max copy like this, because I want to see what is it at level 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But these cards look great, so I'm excited. What else? So, oh yeah, I was saying about Lux. It makes me think about how valuable the promo cards are. It makes me think about how there's a window of time where they are way more, they're so sought after because of what the event they're tied to. Like Rebellion launch is going to be, this is a special moment. And so there's almost going to be some mystique and some glow on those promo cards for a time that will presumably kind of, they'll lose their luster with time. And the same has happened with Lux. Lux is still an amazing summoner. I would argue, it's in a league of its own in some respects, but that neutrality is a big deal, really big deal. But I think, like everything, people are selling what's not nailed down to get into the new shiny thing. And Lux was that for a while, and now Lux isn't that anymore. And I don't think that these prices stay low, though. That was the point I was trying to make earlier when I was saying the prices have gone down half in the last 5-6 months. I don't really believe that's like a first and foremost, like people abandoning the game. I think it's first and foremost people like choosing to liquidate at any price because they're just chasing after the next cool thing. And people like, Skeeter, you and me, and probably lots of the people in the chat, you're for the most part watching your profile decline in paper value because other people are doing this liquidation sale off. But then what happens with this kind of thing, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever your token you're into, or NFTs like in Splinterlands, there is a floor at some point, unless the game is destined for like falling apart or failing, which I don't believe. Then there's a floor at some point and there's a bounce. And that's just markets. At least that's my expectation.
Yeah, I don't believe the game's failing either. And I've listened to a few investors like Warren Buffett and says that like most people make really good investment decisions. They just don't have a long enough time horizon, then act upon their emotions. It's like, oh, everything's not looking good right now, or they were cut back, so the game's gonna fail. It's like, not really. They still have like all the devs still working for them, so their pace of creation can still be about the same. And I'm just trying not to act emotionally and sell at the bottom. Like when I sold my Rooney a year ago and then bought it back for extra, I feel like if I did stuff like that right now, like sold a node or whatever, then the price could just appreciate again, and I'd just be making an emotional decision and not just being optimistic and staying the course.
Yeah,
it is important.
Yeah, the only way I would move anything in it, and this has always been true. Like when I first got involved in crypto was when Bitcoin was $3,000, and I moved around in different assets, and I got slapped every time I did. Like I'd move and I move and I move, and I'm losing and I'm losing, and I'm fees and you're just chasing green candles. That's just something you do when you're new to crypto. And then as I got roasted enough, at some point I was like, you know what, I got to stop doing this. And I just went all in on Splinterlands because I thought this was different and special. And I just enjoyed that for what it was. And I started saying to myself, okay, I'm going to just enjoy this for what it is. And I have an expectation of where this could go. And if I'm right, that's going to be, meaningful. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. And I'm going to lose value or I'm going to lose. But you hopefully come to that place with confidence, or you come to that place of confidence with data and information. And that's what I've been trying to cover in the last 2 days, the last 2 videos I've talked about on my channel. Like, I think there's opportunity at every moment of your life to look around and ask yourself, am I making the right decisions? And why am I believing that? Like what's the foundation for my justifications on where I'm at? Like whether it's, the work you do or the investments you buy or whatever the case may be, because there's data around you. And if you slow down and you look at it objectively, you might not like what you see, but you should let, even if you don't like what you see, you can let that inform your next step. And that might mean, sometimes that means like you sell a node, even though it's down, because it's down, but it's up for in relation to other assets that you might move into. But generally speaking, if everything's down, and if you came to the conclusion, I like this game, I believe in its future during the bull market, it is not usually wise to sell in the bear. That's your point. But I'm just saying there's a few situations, like I sold my nodes because I wanted to move into SPS, and I saw that I paid, I think, 15,000 SPS or something for my nodes, and I got, I think, 50,000 SPS for them. And so because the SPS price had
And the
fallen so
residuals.
much, that's right. So usually I make my bed and I lie in it, but at times you can say to yourself, well, you know, this element of what I'm holding has really preserved its value. Like if you wanted alpha cards right now, it would make sense to sell your untamed even at a 50% loss from the tops, because you could move into alphas, which have taken an even bigger beating. That I could see that logic is what I'm saying. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that's how I look at it. I generally don't sell in the bear, but I will if I can see it gives me a direct opportunity to multiply this other element that I believe in too.
Yeah, exactly. So that helped me. That mentality helped me when trying to sell some regular foil cards, even at a loss. But then I'm like, well, if everything's discounted by X%, then it's kind of like I'm just moving the value around. It's not really I'm selling at a loss unless I take it out of the game. I'm still putting it back into the game, into a different asset, and that asset is relatively cheaper. You could still consider that a gain. Like I could still sell a node for like $450 or whatever, and the node price hasn't actually dropped as much as like card prices. So if I did sell a node, I would still be able to get like essentially a net gain in Splinterlands assets.
Yeah. And like you said, you would, right now with the promo cards available from the Rebellion, for instance, you might be able to get $60 worth of promo cards or $80 worth of promo cards out of that at the same time. So it's interesting, but that would have been even juicier 2 weeks ago when DEC was at 700 Splintoshis.
Oh yeah, and I heard also someone else in our guild, Time and Intention, was like doing something really different. I was gonna buy Rebellion packs, but then I just bought Nightmare packs for like $1.50 each, and now he's collecting SPS off that.
Yeah. See, I thought about that yesterday. I was like, look at these Nightmare pack prices, and it's, we don't know when it's coming out, but I have confidence it will come out. And I think there'll be a time in the future, in the not too distant future, Nightmare in particular will be like, why were we selling these for $1.50? And on that note, Horace dropped a comment. GLS is live, just nobody knows it. Get the word out. From my experience, I don't really have a lot of confidence in GLS. Hang on, I said that wrong. I don't really like what I see about GLS. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Skeeter, but I actually wanted to use this as a transition a bit, because you shared me that video today, and they talked about Web3 gaming broadly, but then they got into Illuvium, and I've never touched Illuvium. I know about it from the outsides. It does look sexy, but I feel like I'll believe it. Man, it's been 3-4 years, nothing there. Like, I mean, beta, okay. Like, let's see. I don't know, man. I do not believe in it until I've seen it. And Splinterlands was so different, where they just like launched the game, and it wasn't as clean as you would want looking back in so many ways. And Matt will say that, but it was playable from a very early, and people enjoyed what it was, and it just has continued to grow and evolve. It seems like Illuvium, they want it to be perfect, and then they want it out. And I don't know, man. If you miss the next bull market, and we don't know when that's going to be, but in that video they talked about maybe at the end of 2024. So, Skeeter, I've kind of talked about GLS here. I talked about other things, broadly Web3 and specifically Illuvium. I'd love to hear your thoughts on other games, GLS, Illuvium, maybe in particular. And because there's some that are like really, in my mind, is not at all ready. And there's some that like look sexy, but like, I don't know if they're ever going to be really truly out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical about prepaying for games now after getting burned by GLS's current value. and wasn't really that impressed with the game either. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I kind of just consider it a poor investment at this point. So, it's just a loss, taking risky investments into crypto. Not all of them work out. And with Olivium, I haven't really don't know much about it. I've heard like Bulldog and stuff talk about it, but I'm trying to get into it a little bit. And some of the comments in that YouTube video are saying they're gonna have like PvP out in the next couple of weeks or so. I'm like, okay, and their token price is pretty low, so maybe I'll throw a few bucks at their token and maybe just try to flip it once the PvP comes out. Because like, in Splinterlands where we had Rebellion come out in the pre-sale, and then DEC went like to peg or near to peg right now. Like that's a really large increase, and that happens in like 2 weeks. So you might be able to do a quick flip and then maybe buy in again later or something. But I signed it up for the beta, see how it goes. But I'm also worried about stretching myself too thin, about playing too many games. But I think there's other opportunities in the play to earn space besides just Splinterlands, because it's a little more niche game, because it's really hard to play and it's really complicated, and it's not for everyone to play Candy Crush on and just mindlessly play while watching TV. Yeah. But I think there could be other risers in the next bull run, and want to try to learn a little bit about them. But I'm still mostly in on Splinterlands. I love Splinterlands, and I love the gameplay and everything. And taking breaks has been really helpful for me to keep it fresh and stay energized. And like I can't really just play a game for 6 years and not take a break. Yeah, that's just how I am.
Yeah, I'm with you. I see Steve hanging out there. Good to see you, buddy. Ola, Art, Larkin, Brian, Dave, Jacob. Appreciate you guys stopping by today. If you haven't already, guys, drop that like. I'm gonna be going for another probably almost hour, 50 minutes. So yeah, spread the word by pressing the like button. Appreciate you.
And that Vinium story, they're talking about how Microsoft is introducing, from a leaked document, they're going to give all of their Xbox users a crypto wallet. And that just pushes everyone into Web3, whether they kind of like it or not. It doesn't push them. It does push them, but they're not forced to go that way. But like, it just seems like that is what we've been talking about from Splinterlands from the get-go, that everything's going to become NFTs, and we're trying to get ahead of the curve. So, if Microsoft releases their crypto wallet Xbox thing, and then people are like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, let me check out some other games that are open into space, then I think that could be just like the biggest advertisement right there. If some of the Web 2 games just become Web 3 and people want to look at other stuff, other opportunities that, probably aren't as money hungry as Microsoft, Ubisoft, or like Activision or anything like that.
Yeah. That I saw that, and he went on to say, the guy from Illuvium who he interviewed said that's been one of their concerns over the last 3 years. Like, we don't want you to have to fumble around with crypto assets and crypto wallets and private public keys, etc. Like, we want to do that behind the scenes. You don't even need to know that that's happening. And that's kind of what Brave Browser has done. I don't know if anybody uses Brave Browser, but they are paying out rewards for you watching ads, and there's this path through which, like, yeah, in some sense, all you have to do is have like a what are these called? Like you can add like a tool on an extension. That's what I mean. You can add an extension on your browser, and it's just happening in the background. Like, you don't really, if you've used Honey, if you used I don't know, like a VPN, like, it's super simple to understand, like adding an extension, and then quietly in the background, it's essentially a crypto wallet, and you need to learn your private keys, but you kind of don't either. Like, it's easy enough to just make it happen. And, the average person, if they don't get it, that's okay. And so if Microsoft does that, but like, my question when I heard that is, like, I've heard this kind of thing for years, and just it hasn't happened. And maybe it will. I guess I'll believe it when I see it. And that's how I feel about Illuvium. It's like, it looks cool. It would be awesome if Microsoft did that. It would be awesome if, Illuvium did that, and it launches well, the way that he talked about 3 different games, and he talked about doing that integrated wallet. Man, I'll believe it when I see it. And with something, I'd rather get my hands on something like I have with Splinterlands, like I do with Golem Overlord, like I have in, not so much recently, but Splinter Forge, even with Power Defense, I want to just have it. I don't care if it's not ready. Like, give it to us. Give us land 1.5, even if it's not, as long as it's not absolutely broken. Give it to us and let us like just enjoy it for what it is. And I know you're going to keep working on it. You've kept working on Splinterlands since day one. Like, it's just, I know that this is an evolution. I know that blockchain is so different. Like the way the asset ownership and then the renting, and there's so many complicated, nuanced program things that are way above my head. Okay, fine. But give it to us and just with this ongoing understanding that it's going to keep evolving. Because you know what? We have like maybe 10,000 real people playing Splinterlands. They get that. If you're worried like the average Joe isn't going to get sort of some of that, understand that the average Joe really isn't here anymore. Like, that was bull market. They were trying things. I really believe the people who are here are sold out for what this is. And they also know that we're not where we're going to end up. What do you think about that, Skeeter? Do we need to be, how much concern do we need to carry over whether you're Splinterlands or any other game, Web3 game? How much concern do they need to carry about being like done before they put it out? Like, isn't Splinterlands in some sense a beta? Like, I think we're barely, you know what I mean? Items and spells are going to change this so differently. Mm-hmm. Summoner tactics, like, aren't we constantly evolving? And don't you think this community of people would be ready and okay if you release things piecemeal, knowing that we see constant growth? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, at this point, I'm happy if land comes out with, as long as the bugs aren't like game breaking, but there's like a few cosmetic things and you have to do a few extra clicks. I'm like, at this point, I'd be fine with that. Like, let's just get the baby out and let's see how it does. And then we can have all of the community be like the family members and uncles trying to take care of it and give the mothers a break. Yeah. When everything's going really hard. So yeah, I'm okay with a few bugs coming out. I think that land will be really impactful, will be really fun, and you're right, the game still feels like it's in beta because this has been the plan for like 3 years. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. But yeah, I would like to see like a real game for Ethereum come out before I put like some money in there. Like, maybe I can get into the beta and see how that goes. But I've heard of other crypto projects with the rug being pulled where they take all this like upfront money and then nothing really ever.
Yeah, dude.
But that's I think they said in the video, like, was Ethereum going to be sponsored by Microsoft or something? They said it was like a first AAA game.
I didn't hear him explicitly say that, so I might have misunderstood. But it was like they began talking about Microsoft and how they were doing that wallet thing. And then they transitioned into the interview with the Illuvium guy, and he made the separate point that like that's been one of their concerns. And he also said we got 3 games coming out, and it's coming out like sometime in 2024, which is such a like what a window. Sometime in 2024, like that's just that's disconcerting, man. Like so many things could happen between now and March of 2024, let alone now in December of 2024. Like, I mean, literally World War III. Great Depression, like these, like there is so much variation between now and possible tomorrow. Like I can't think that way. I can't, for me anyways. I'm not willing to bite off that sort of uncertainty, at least for me.
Yeah, for sure. And you're taking their timeline to their face value as well. Like, it could easily be 2025.
Yeah. Okay, I see several comments. I want to say hey to Deus. Good to see you, buddy. Waka's great price is great. His price is less so. Yeah, Waka is a sleeper, says Stock Jockey. I saw Waka is actually great in True Strike rule sets with 50% poison. Absolutely. Just wait until a luck spell comes from land. Man, the way that items and spells will change the game in a whole fresh way is visible in some sense with the summoner tactics, because this is summoner tactics in my mind is like items and spells 0.5. It's this way that you can affect the battle
Hmm.
before it begins, after the team's been picked. And that was always the plan for items and spells. You're going to see the battlefield. You're going to see that, you know, if you're wise and you can understand, if you can discern, like if you just look at the team on the screen right now and imagine, forget the summoners for a second, and you look at this guy's going sneak, and he's pretty vulnerable in the back line from a sneak attack. And then over here we have a sneak attack, and I would say these guys are gonna win because this is more resilient, or is definitely resilient enough. I think probably this is gonna win. Oh, you know what? He's only got a small little window, and he does have a double sneak. Well, you got my point is, you like being able to read this and then react is a huge change to the game. And when the tactics are going to be cool, but when we actually see what land can do, I don't actually know what luck would be, but man, this is it's going to be crazy. It's going to be awesome. The changes that items and spells bring, and hopefully that's when are they going to get 2.0 out? Like what's the Skeeter, what's the last that you heard about land 2.0?
So I'm just gonna go back to that screenshot. I think they would win with the shield ability on that triage guy, Angelic Mandarin, because their opponent's guys are only gonna do 3 damage, and then they get inspired for 4. So they're only doing half damage to the triage guy, and the triage guy is gonna heal for 2 a turn. So they're essentially the black team's only doing 2 damage a turn to your back tank, and that gives you a lot of time to take down the Dark One.
Yeah.
And Land 2.0 is what I heard is 2024. They said they won't. I've heard also end of this year, but we'll see how this goes. Right now, we might get 1.6 by the end of the year in December, like 1.5 next month, 1.6 in December, and but yeah, I'm really excited for the items and spells. I think that'll make the game a lot more interesting, and you know, it still will have that auto battler concept, but you'll have the team building phase plus the items and spells phase, tactics, and that just gives like another depth of layer to the game, right? Where you get to make more decisions, and the more opportunities you have to make decisions, the more opportunities the opponent can mess up, so it increases a higher skill cap to the game too.
That's right. Yeah, if that's accurate, if we get 2.0 even in I think we need 2.0 before June of 2024. If we do it sooner than that, I say that's a home run. And in the video I did this morning, I think, talking about like shaking confidence, I think I said, or no, the one 2 days ago where I was talking about like measuring failure, I said, I think we need to, for me, there's a line in the sand where if land 1.5 is not out in November, that's a big yellow flag, not a red flag. We're not like, but I mean, why, man? This thing needs to get out. It's been too long. We need to pile these things together. Like right now, Rebellion is creating a tension on DEC price point, driving it near peg. We need to kick that into overdrive by throwing land out. Get it out. It needs to happen, and that will create. We're going to push even closer to the flywheel. This is really important that it happens soon. I think we saw Land 1.5 was going to launch. I forget when now, but it felt like it was going to launch when Weirdbeard was still part of the team. It was like, you know, it was ready to go, and then it wasn't. And SPS was like a 900 Splintoshis or something, and then the failure to pull that, to make that happen, it dropped off hard. And I actually think card prices and SPS price and DEC price all took a tumble when Land 1.5 stumbled. And I think if we stumble here between now and Christmas and we don't get 1.5 out, that's a huge stumble. And then I have two more benchmarks. I want to see 40% of land launch when it launches, and I want to see land 2.0 by like June of next year. If those 3 things happen, I'm super bullish still. If they fail to happen, I'm constantly reassessing. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've been promising things for so long, and it's nice for things to be able to come out. Yeah, you're right. We could definitely get the flywheel started if we get 2 big releases at the same time. And yeah, I just saw Walking Keys as well. I was gonna ask him his opinion.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Everybody in the chat, Walking Keys has just joined us in Discord, and just want to introduce you, Keys. Buddy, thank you for popping by. I think this is the first time you've been on my channel, but I'm always appreciative of coming over and visiting with you and Gank. And you and I have spoken a few times just on the phone. I always love the conversations that we have, Keys. Thank you for taking some time here today, popping on. I don't know how much of that you just heard, but we were kind of talking about some of the lines in the sand right now, or like growing our confidence in Splinterlands, or maybe breaking some of the confidence. And you've shared some of your skepticism recently, Keys, like on your own channel, just talking about how you're not going to go very hard on Rebellion. You've got there are concerns, so you want to see some wins. What would constitute success for you, Walking Keys, for this game in the next 6 to 9 months? Like, what are the benchmarks for success that would, reinvigorate a degree of confidence for you?
Well, dude, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you. Very excited to be here. Yeah, I've been listening in the background, so I'm not coming in completely blind. I think a lot of your benchmarks are kind of close to mine as well. With Rebellion, I decided to personally stay out of the pre-sale completely. I'm not even looking at buying any packs during the pre-sale because I've done that before many times. Genesis League and then Tower Defense are two recent ones that I've participated in, and those pack values have plummeted since. I need to see that it works. I love the new system they came up with, how if you hold them, you get airdrop points, and you got to do the wagons and all that. I think that's great. I think they're really trying to fix some of the issues. But for me, I'm still going to wait and see how this works out. My biggest worry is that so much DEC and all the big wallets that are in right now are buying Rebellion, and Rebellion snuck in before land. And so I think land is still critical for the success of the game, long term and short term. And a lot of DEC has been burnt or used to buy packs. Now that DEC is not going to go to land. So I think in one way, Rebellion could keep us from getting to that 40%, that 40% number that you're talking about.
Interesting.
And I hope it doesn't.
Okay.
But that's my biggest concern, is that Rebellion just crippled land.
Interesting. Okay, so that you're saying like it takes some of the wind out of the sails of what land we were imagining land might be, and if that's so, that could be really an impediment to, for instance, Flywheel. Is that kind of where your head goes?
Yeah, land is needed for everything. Rebellion is needed just for the company. Rebellion was there to generate revenue for the company, and they have to figure out how to generate revenue. I'm not mad at them for that. But as far as what the community needs, we technically don't need another set right now. We need land to start burning through these cards, to burn through this DEC, to stake all the DEC on our land, to get that going. We don't need to add more cards to the supply. So by doing it backwards, I think it's really hurt land. And one of my lines in the sand is, if it didn't hurt land, then the community is vibrant and ready, and will withstand this run, this bear run.
Wow.
But I'm definitely nervous now, and land is really, even for me personally now, I'm not as worried about land as I was a couple months ago.
Wow. That's really interesting the way you say that, because I hadn't really thought about it that way. I guess I've been expecting that people will just get themselves ready for land. Like I, for instance, sold 450,000 DEC in the last couple of days. One, to buy one gold foil Oceanus, which I felt was dirt cheap, and then two, to buy 100 Rebellion packs. But I'm gonna replenish that 500,000 DEC, and I'm still gonna launch my land. But I felt I need these Rebellion. I think this Rebellion set is so different, and it really is not. It's not really, to me, it's not really optional. It's like you need to have these cards if you want to play it. I play a Diamond Champion. I need them. And if I get a really good Rebellion set, I think it's going to set me up for like a high performance Champion League, team for months and months, maybe years to come. But I hear what you're saying, and not everybody's going to be in the same boat as me, as being able to just, like, I'll liquidate my other crypto $500 or $1,000 of it to make my land go well. Even though I don't want to do that because I need the $500,000 or $1 million DEC to launch my land. But not everybody's going to do that.
If Bitcoin, I mean, if all these, you know, big regulations are about to be lifted off of Bitcoin for the banks, I mean, you know, it's harder for me to think that buying Rebellion packs are going to benefit me, you know, in the long run compared to Bitcoin as far as financially. If I'm looking at it just as an investment.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I can play with them and earn SPS and that stuff too. But am I willing to sacrifice the Bitcoin that I've been, you know, and I don't even have that much, or any other crypto that I've been holding on to for this entire bear, just to get into some packs or something, or, you know, it just makes me nervous, to be honest. But I haven't given up at all. I'm just a lot more cautious than I was in mid-August.
Yeah, no, that's I like what you're saying. I mean, like, it's really thoughtful. What I'm hearing is, you know, for instance, if I'm holding BTC, and in this moment with BTC moving like almost doubled in the last, I forget how long, but it was near 15,000, and now we're at 28, 29.
1 year.
Yeah.
1 year, it's up 50%.
So, I mean, that's a gigantic improvement. And you say to yourself, like, well, I'd rather ride my BTC than move into Rebellion. First of all, I don't have BTC. I have like altcoins, which are up from where I bought them because I've held them for years, but they are not where I expect them to go. So I would be like maybe selling future opportunity for like current. But I think what I want to say is, whether it's BTC or XRP or ADA or whatever token you like, at a moment like this, if you're not already soaring on like 500%, you know, 10x already on whatever you've got, which most people aren't, then you're really moving around assets hoping that you're going to catch one green candle and then have an opportunity later to move into a different green candle. That's what we're usually doing when we sell one asset for another. So like, is Rebellion going to pre-sale? And I think the answer is probably no. But is Rebellion pre-sale going to be so juicy in terms of those promo cards, which are limited in number, or even the gold foils that are going to come out of the packs? Some of them they're going to be exceedingly rare at first. And maybe those price tags are going to be well worth the $4 or $3.60 per pack you're paying in a short term, which would allow a return to some other things. But you're just juggling then, is what, you know, and you have to be careful about that sort of play.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is with Rebellion. I think what they've done is brilliant, you know, as far as keeping the packs, you know, in the wagons, and you get airdrop points if you have cards, but you can still play them. I think that's freaking brilliant. But what happens when the airdrops stop? I can't help but believe every pack that's excess, every card that's excess is going to hit the market, and people will start dumping them, especially for whatever else comes next. Let's say that's right before Land 2.0.
Yep.
So if you're really looking at building a Rebellion deck for the long term, I don't understand why you would buy now.
Okay, so that's
that's kind of where
that's a great conversation. I want Skeeter, you hop in there, buddy. But just I love that comment. But go for it, Skeeter.
Yeah, like, I'm buying some packs to support the team that's out, but I'm really not trying to buy singles for like 3 to 6 months out after seeing chaos prices just dip so hard.
Oh, so I hear like that makes a lot of sense to me, what you just said, Skeeter, because the price of cards you've always seen them, Rebellion, Untamed, even like we just talked about Kitty a half an hour ago. Some of these cards have dropped off and dropped off and dropped off. Why would I buy them? Why would I rush out the gate to fill my boots? I mean, there's the one thing, like, it's fun to play with them. Two, it's going to set you apart and maybe give you more winning opportunities. If it does, that's more SPS. So part of what I wanted to say earlier to you, Keys, and it's touching on this topic too, is like, if you have the opportunity to set yourself apart today in the rank experience of Splinterlands, and I think Rebellion will do this in a big way. The different summoners and the different abilities and all that stuff. I think this is gonna be really helpful. So then, if you win more, you get more SPS. SPS, I I know I like Bitcoin. I do. I like Ethereum. I like a lot of these coins, a lot of the top 10, but man, SPS is so small that it could theoretically do 100x when some of those coins do a 10x. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Like maybe this game doesn't get where, but I feel like I'm swinging for a home run as I prepare and plan and grow my SPS bag. Whereas I could play like for base hits by holding Bitcoin or holding Ethereum, because those things are, I think, truly going to change our world. And I think one day we see $1 million Bitcoin. I believe that. I think Ethereum really is set apart as like and I think you see growth and growth and growth. But I think you can see outsized returns on some smaller tokens like SPS if the game does what it's supposed to do. And we got to come back now to confidence, because you pointed to, like, I haven't seen a lot of W's. I haven't, like, we need to see some things happening right. I want to see this go well. But I'm saying if we wait a year to see those reduced rebellion card prices, in that for 12 months, you're not going to be enjoying the same rewards that I'm going to be, because I'll beat you more often than not, I think, with some of these summoners, especially these tactic summoners. And so then are you sacrificing SPS income? And I think definitely in tournaments you will be. So I don't know. I mean, that's hard to measure, and that is a bit of a it's not very, let's say, it's very risky, because you're gambling on a smaller token SPS in opposition of like a bigger token with like a Bitcoin. But I am here for the outsized returns. I'm not here because I think, well, I like the game first, but second of all, I'm playing this and I'm trying to get more of these assets because I think there's really outsized return possibilities here. I'm not looking for 10x. I'm looking for like 100x, 1000x on some of these things. And I think those are realistic possibilities at some point in the future. How does that weigh in? Because what I'm saying is there's a short-term loss if you don't have these assets. Does that at all bother you? And I'd like to hear both your answers, but maybe you first, Keys.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I mean, I do think it has the potential to be I don't know about 100x, but it definitely could go up a lot, more than probably Bitcoin in a small amount of time. But I don't think it's as guaranteed. Yes. And knowing that the team just, basically, I don't know what else they have in the hopper to push SPS up over that amount without a major catalyst from the Bitcoin market or the overall crypto markets, bringing attention back to Web3 and getting people into gaming, So I think there's a lot of time. So I think if my thing is I'm not ready to take that big of a gamble right now. But I'm also not taking a bunch out of Splinterlands either. I'm not like, selling everything. I'm just trying to be smart about what else goes in. Like, I've got a big enough piece of the pie that it's not worth the gamble at this point. Yeah,
I like that. I hear what you're saying. I am going to push back a little bit, but I'm going to let Skeeter go. I just want to say quickly, 100x is like $1 for SPS, and then like 1000x is a $10 SPS. I know those are, to some people, the ridiculous numbers, but I really believe those are possible. Now, I'm not saying probable. Hear me. Is it a 1% chance? Is it less? I don't know, but possible to me, when you start getting into, doing the math on, like, if you've got 200,000 SPS and you times that by, $1, that's a life-changing amount of money for most people in the world from a video game. And $10 is like, what's just happened? Like, but now again, you might think never, not going to happen. But I don't put it, to me, and it's my money and this is my investment, and everybody does differently. But I'm just saying that is not having a 0% probability. Like, I think there is some possibility we get there, and I would go on to, and one last thing, Skeeter, before I want you to get in here. You said, what other catalysts do we have? And I think LAM 1.5 is one that's going to follow up really soon. If it follows up on, like, really soon, We've already got DEC almost at peg. That will help, even though I have to admit your point, Keys, about how the DEC might have been allocated to Rebellion and now it's going to hinder the launch of land. If land launches in that 30 to 40% range of plots of land activated, I think we see DEC reach peg. And then if land 2.0 comes out in the next 6 to 9 months, I think we really do see some fireworks around SPS Flywheel. So those are my next catalyst conversations that are really still, to me, there is more gunpowder that Splinterlands has to work with. They've got more ammo to throw at this. Skeeter, thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think SPS and Splinterlands could easily 10x that, assuming Matt can get funding for the next few years, like he was talking about, to not worry about it and scrambling around for revenue generation tactics. Then I think almost like 30x is like very likely, like over 2/3, 80% likely in my mind. Just once the game comes around and survives this full bear and comes back into bull, and then 100x seems like pretty likely as well, and 1000x also seems, it sounds crazy, but I think that could also happen as well. And so I think, yeah, just all these asset prices and stuff I'm trying to look at is not check the values of my account every day or even every week or every month. I just kind of ignore, because I believe in the game and believe in this project that like things will turn around, and crypto is so volatile that you have to have a really hard mentality when it comes to not being so emotionally struck by all the volatility of things going up and down so much in a year. Like, it just averages out with a long enough time horizon with a successful project.
Two comments here, and then I'd love to hear some more thoughts from you, Keys. But Stock Jockey first says, what he said, right on, Keys. So, you're not the only one, and I share some of those thoughts too, Keys. Like I'm not impervious to your logic there. But then Brandon says, Rebellion isn't about cards. It's about company revenue, which land does not bring, and game playing excitement, resetting modern/new actions, not necessarily in that order. And I agree with what he's saying. It's I think there's one point I wanted to add, and then Keys, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Any direction you want to go. But Matt was saying he wanted to sell 250,000 pre-sale packs. He was saying he wants to sell 1.5 million, I think, or 1.5 to 2 million in the Rebellion set. And if he does that, he seems satisfied, and I believe he's satisfied. Though I don't think he's. I trust him. Like, I think he speaks the truth. I think he really believes those numbers would be adequate, and I think that I heard Aftersound talk about this. And he goes, it's not that would set the company forever, but that gives them the runway that they feel they need to see land do what it's going to do, and to let conversations happen. Because you know what, what conversations are going to happen after Rebellion pre-sale, even probably right now, are already happening. He's having conversations with investors, and he's saying, like, look, terrible bear market, like things are like, I mean, yes, Bitcoin's up, but man, everything else is like, we've been in this for a while, and yet we sell 250,000 packs at $5 a pop. Yes, with voucher costs, reducing it to 4 in 8 hours. And that's a big deal. And if we start to get more of those sales happening, and that not only is it helping the company, remember, it's helping the DAO. It's all part of like a sales pitch to me, to how we find and secure future value and runway. So I think we can't set that aside, but regardless, I hear you. Land is more important to the fullness of this game than another pack set. I don't know if what you want to say on that, Keys, but any angle or direction you want to go, I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, I think Stock Jockey said something that's very important that I think should be one of the main concerns of the company. I mean, who am I to really tell them what to do? But he said that the Rebellion is for the company to make money, but land is for everything else. Why haven't they built a way to make money into land? Like, make money out of land, make money out of everything you're doing. Like, have the company make money off of land. Like, not having it generate revenue seems like a major error.
Mm.
It why isn't it making money? Like, it doesn't. I don't understand this. Every game I've ever played, whatever new thing they put out, it's around money. It's downloadable content. It's a new edition. It's new skins. I mean, it's something. Figure out a way to generate revenue from all this work you're doing. Or why are you doing the work? You're not a company. You're just building stuff. So
Yeah.
I would like to see the company put on its company hat and really start figuring out how to generate revenue, how to become so they're not dependent on moving things around to build a runway. Like, everything that we're saying are red flags in the investment world. You know, they've changed the launch date of something to get revenue to give them a runway. You know, these are all red flags. They've had 2 firings, like 2 rounds of firings. These are red flags.
Yeah.
All of that being said, I think what they're doing is with Rebellion is brilliant. And I feel like they're really truly giving themselves a chance for success. And a lot's going to depend on the effectiveness of land. But I also think, you know, they need to figure out how to make money in land, especially in land 2.0. There needs to be a revenue stream. Time crystals, even if they made the revenue from time crystals, then that's a way to make revenue. So, because that's a direct reflection on how well they built the game. If people enjoy it, they'll buy time crystals. If they don't, they don't. But why not make money off land?
I hear you. Skeeter, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Do you have any thoughts about how land was designed and how it doesn't exactly put money directly in the team's pockets?
I agree with Keys' point. They should be able to monetize more things instead of releasing like a really expensive Zyra promo, which didn't really sell well. So yeah, I agree. It's a good point. Maybe they mint more totems and the totems go directly to their teams. I think they could do something like that. But I'm gonna have to head out as well.
Okay, good to see you, buddy. And thanks for popping by. I appreciate you. Keys, I only got about 15 minutes and I got to go get the kids, but I want to kick around this topic a bit more, because you're saying, why doesn't land produce more resources? And we want the team to have sustainability, but that means we want them to have ongoing revenue, not like, you got to create this expansive set and stop other developments. So you're making Rebellion or whatever the next one is, that does feel like non-sustainable. It feels like non-optimal. So I'm with you, but between battle wagons, grain sales, time crystals, and the burn mechanics that are built into those, plus land and how it doesn't burn DC, but it stakes it, and it stakes cards. My pushback or question, I guess, is do you agree that those mechanics, although they don't put money directly into Splinterlands' pocket, they are all aiming at one focus, which does put money into the Splinterlands pocket. The one focus of what land will be or ought to be is about creating flywheel movement, which reduces supply of SPS, which drives up value for SPS. It reduces supply of DC there, which necessitates burning of SPS. All of that is absolutely aiming at putting money in the hands of the developers and the team, because they are massive SPS holders too. And so that's part of it. I don't hear a lot of people say that, but absolutely. And even we have to have questions that would raises questions about how would they liquidate those bags? Are they going to sell on our heads? Even with the Rebellion pack, they're accepting DEC. That's money they need for runway. That means they need to sell that on us, right? So there's a push and shove here, or I mean, a question, a critique about this situation that is probably needs to be raised. But do you agree that the what land should do would enrich Splinterlands as a company indirectly?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it should. But it's not a business model.
Fair
It's
enough.
not, you can't count on that.
Yeah.
If you have 1,000 people playing the game and SPS doesn't move, you're not gaining value, But if you had something where you were making $1,200 or $1,100 a day from just people doing stuff, interacting or buying stuff that helps them on their land or whatever, then that's revenue they can count on, or whatever, however much it is. And you don't want to nickel and dime the users, but there needs to be ways that the company can make revenue outside of
Yes.
just these big events, or we wouldn't be in the problem we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have runway issues like we do now because SPS has dropped, you know, from 7.5 cents at this point last year to 1.3 cents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even if it did, they would still have money coming in because
Mm-hmm.
without Rebellion, there hasn't been any big cash infusion or any regular cash infusion since what, Zerial, maybe?
Yeah. I don't think that was any, I don't
And
think that was very big either. Hey.
yeah, I mean, the company needs to make more money. You know,
Mhm.
whether they're now, if the DAO should be able to pay the company to build stuff like they did with Rebellion. I think that's great. You know, because then they're getting money. The company is getting actual money. They don't have to sell SPS to pay devs because then that pushes down the price of SPS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the DAO can hold this and use it wisely and spin it with the company. And then the company just builds stuff for the DAO. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But we're a ways away from that. I
Yeah.
think.
How long do you think we are? Because
So-
there was a comment in there. Larkin said, if you listen to Yaba, if you listen to Yaba's and Steve's stream, then you know he said he wanted in time for the DAO to take over, make this game 100% decentralized. I believe that that's actually the plan and that will happen. And
Yeah.
if you look at with Rebellion and how the pre-sale is working, or how this pack sale is working, and how the DAO is getting half of that value, there's clearly a desire from Matt to see that DAO get put into a position where it can walk in that authority. He's creating literally, he's going to pour millions of dollars in through this pack sale.
But
is that
the
going to
problem
solve
is
this
the
problem?
DAO has no leadership. Well, the DAO has no leadership. Like, what is the DAO?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just proposals now, and you know, that's a tough way to run a business. You know, to run, like, how are we going to do a proposal? Hey, let's build another set, and that set needs to come out in January, and then is that the proposal? And then how detailed do we get? Does it have 80 cards? Does it need to have new functionality? Like, how is the DAO going to be able to ask Splinterlands to build stuff without being under the hood?
Yeah, that's an interesting question but it's a hard one to answer because the question requires us to have behind the, like you say, about under the hood view or behind the scenes. I do think that we can get to a place where decentralized governance works entirely, and I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think even like what we saw around, like there has been a lot of DAO proposals, and at times I think to myself, oh, some of these are not good, and I maybe I even would use a different word, a less pleasant word, but every time it either passes or fails, in my mind, that is the success of governance. That is people driving the ship with their power and authority earned or achieved or acquired through the SPS bag. And I think that I really believe that we can get to a place where that's sufficient. And I guess if we do, then what we're talking about, runway comes from the DAO. Runway comes from us. Ongoing income comes from us because there's tons of ongoing income. Like, I mean, even there are things that could be reallocated is what I'm saying. And decentralized governance can decide this. Like there's fees for burning DEC on markets. Like why doesn't that go to the company? There's fees for, I don't know, even when we burn, like you said, when you buy time crystals or when you buy grain, when Land 1.5 launches, you're going to be buying from Splinterlands and there's 1 DEC for 1 grain, or I think 100 DEC for a time crystal. And those are just burnt. But we could make a proposal and put that in the fund in the hands of the company. And you're right, they probably should have done these things themselves. But in some sense, I think Matt really drank the. And I say that this might sound disparaging. I don't mean it to be. I think Matt has drank the Kool-Aid around crypto. I think he fully is on board with like decentralized governance. He is willing to ride that to wherever it goes. And so he's got full confidence that that path of letting the DAO figure out how Splinterlands can get the money. That's what I think. I think he's so confident about that he's just going to let that roll. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern is the DAO needs to be taught how to make proposals. Most of the proposals that we have are just basically DEC manipulation proposals.
Yes.
You know, or SPS manipulation. Like they're not what we need to focus on as a DAO. We don't need to focus on the tokenomics as much as if we're going to be put in charge of the game, we need to focus on the game. What is going to make this game great? Is it different draft modes? Is it different tournament styles? What can we do to put together a marketing campaign?
Yeah.
Why don't we put together a retention campaign and create some type of card to reactivate everyone that hasn't played in the last 12 years and try to get them reactivated into the game and do like a special campaign there. So the challenge of having the DAO being put in control, if it happens now or in any real quick timeline, the DAO doesn't know how to run a company. No, I mean, there might be individuals that know what's going on or know things, but as a DAO, and how are we going to, we need to be trained on how to give Splinterlands, the company, you know, proposals that can be voted on that then they can then enact. You know, if the power is going to be put into us, we need to know how to control that power. Because without that, we're just going to get more of these, you know, no offense, but BS, you know, proposals about how they try to get DEC up, you know, by 0.01. You know, we need real proposals, like the bots out of Modern. That was a real proposal. A very clear definition. We want the bots out. How are we going to do that? We don't know how we're going to do it. The company, you figure it out. You know, that's what this is for.
Yeah.
But we need to make proposals like that. Should we put on a proposal now for the next set to start getting them to do it? Are we going to pay them $250,000 to build the next set? You know, what can we do with this? How can we run this company?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I hear you, and I think you're right to some extent, because we can't even, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't even understand what proposals are possible, like, and that's clear that the community doesn't always, like, you'll hear somebody on the town hall ask a question about something where, and you used to hear Aggo say, like, that's not even a DAO thing. Like, that's just like, you know, or sorry, that's not even a Splinterlands company thing. It's a DAO thing. So people don't always see the line in the sand, but I would push back and say, I think what we really need is community leadership. And I think we've talked about that. You guys you and Gank talked about that with, you know, on the last live or whatever that I saw, where you guys were talking about, what's his name? Oh, I forget his name right now. Matt's suggesting somebody, right? Matt, and then you guys were like, what about Weirdbeard, right?
Gank's big on Weirdbeard.
Yeah. But I'm saying like, what I'm saying is that some form of leadership over that is probably important. I don't know who it needs to be. I'm saying that somebody, because to your point, like, there needs to be a driver in some sense behind even what the community can do, let alone what we want to do, and then bring those in a thoughtful way forward. And I do believe that those ideas can come from a decentralized community of content, like whether it's content creators like us that do this, talk about these things, and then we spark ideas. And then I think some of the best proposals have come from just people who like the game and throw out their own 100,000 DEC. So that's, and it's okay if people throw out 100,000 DEC and it falls flat on its face. I don't see that as like a problem. I see that as what's the word? You know, that expression, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Because it's okay if some of the stuff, the crap doesn't float. It just, you know what I mean? Yeah. The good stuff comes to the top and we're like, hey, a second, this is a great idea. At times I hear them on like our lives. I hear somebody drop a comment. I'm like, well, that's interesting. Never thought of that. And then maybe it could, so I'm saying, I think we can do this even without knowing what we don't know. But I also think there's room for a little bit more community guidance, and that could come from like a DAO funded position. And that's what Matt seems to be suggesting. Whether or not we end up seeing, or I guess that'll come out, and I bet that'll come out soonish, that proposal, because he said he was going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one thing to keep in mind too, man, is that Splinterlands is the first company to do this for gaming. Like, yeah, there's other games out there and stuff, but no one's trying to push decentralization and putting the hands back into the DAO, like this. And because of that, it's going to be rough. It's going to be we're going to have ups and downs. It's going to be challenging. But if the commitment is coming from Matt that he wants the hands or the power of the company to be in, or the power of Splinterlands to be in the control of the DAO, we need to be taught how, or we need to figure out how to make the appropriate proposals to push this game forward in the way that the community wants. So, and I think we can do that. Like you said, I think you're right. I think we can get there, but it needs to be a concerted effort, and someone needs to be put in charge, and we need to know who that person is. It can't just be a screen name.
Yeah.
Because that delegitimizes what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that
we need to add legitimacy.
Yeah, and it definitely does. There, like you guys said, I think this is Gank actually, but I mean, he's right. If there's no face for the name of who's supporting us, and if we say things like, "Oh, Matt and Aggro know who I am," again, they've got the control then, not the community. So it's like, who is your boss? Who is the person you're looking to represent? Is it the interest of Matt and Aggie or is it the interest of the community? I don't know the individual. I'm not trying to slander them. I'm just saying I think it's really important that we have a face to a name, whoever would handle that sort of position.
Yeah.
Dude, it's 1 o'clock. I got to go get the kiddos. Everybody in the live.
I understand that too.
Yeah. And
thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Keys, you're awesome, bud. I really enjoy our chats. I really enjoy you popping by. I really appreciate you guys doing your own content. Lately it's been getting spicy because you got your own takes that are you're like feeling more bearish lately, and Gank's just his normal Gank. Everything's gonna be amazing. So
I'm still positive, but I'm just nervous.
Sure. And I get that. And I am too. And that's why, no, hang on. I'm not nervous, but I am attentive to the possible concerns. And it is prudent to always do that. But right now I'm attending to it thoroughly. And that's why some of my content has shown that. But yeah, man, I appreciate all of you guys. This has been a really great chat. Lots of amazing comments. Appreciate, shout out to Skeeter for popping by, and Keys, I'd love to come back on and chat with you guys sometime soon, maybe even next week. We'll see.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Okay, thanks guys.